A girl begins to feel short of breath on the street. Soon a boy stops to help the girl. While he is looking for something in the girl's bag, an acquaintance who was passing by says, "Iago? What is he doing there?" She starts taking lots of pictures and claims, "I knew you were a petty thief." Soon he asks the girl, "Where is it?" "I'm not finding it." The girl who took the pictures said, "Now I want to see if he doesn't lose his job." The girl who was short of breath asks him to be faster, so the one taking the pictures says that she already has enough and leaves. Finally Iago finds the girl's inhaler and says, "Here, I found it," and lifts it up. At work the girl arrives saying, Boss, I need to tell you something," and then the boss says, "What is Kyrie? I don't have time for gossip, just tell me what you want." She replied, "Look, Dona Mel, I just saw Iago robbing a girl on the street," and the boss asks, "What? Are you crazy as well?" Iago lifts the girl up and asks if she was okay. And he lifts her up. The girl thanks him for helping scream. The boss asks, "Do you have proof of this? This accusation is very serious," and Kyrie replied, "Of course I do. Luckily I recorded everything. I'm going this way so you can see. Look, I didn't want to tell you anything, but he took everything in her bag and leaked it." When watching the video, the boss said, "Wow, this is very serious. I cannot accept an employee with such conduct. I will have to dismiss Iago." Iago said, "I would do that to anyone, but why were you walking down this street alone? It's dangerous, and even more so with this attack." And she replied, "So I had an asthma attack. I had to take care of some things, but tell me, where are you going?" Iago replied saying that he was going to work and that he was already late, and she says, "Before you go, can I have your phone number? You saved my life and I owe you a lot." Kyrie agrees with her boss's attitude of not allowing this type of behavior in the company, and "I always tried to warn the lady that he was not a trustworthy person," and the boss asks, "Do you know if he has already arrived at the company? Because I need to talk to him," and Kyrie says, "I don't know how to tell you, but if you want I can go after him myself," and the boss says, "Okay, if you find him, she'll send him straight to my office." Mel thinks, "I can't believe this is happening at my company." Iago then says, "I can even pass, but you have to guarantee me that you don't have a boyfriend, because I don't want any problems for my side." "No," and she replied, "No, I don't have one, and do you?" He says no, and she says, "I don't want to cause you a problem either." Soon Iago hands her his cell phone and says, "Put your number here, and as soon as I leave work, I'll call you." She introduces herself and says her name is Louise, and he says his is Iago. When you arrive at the company, Kyrie says that finally you arrived. "Look, the boss wants to talk to you, and you thought you would keep that good guy mask forever? Comes here." Iago then asks, "What are you doing? Are you going crazy?" In your boss's room, Kyrie enters and says, "Here, boss, your little thief." Your boss gets up and says, "I never imagined you would be like this, Iago, rob in the street?" He replied saying, "Boss, there must be some mistake. It's not in my nature to do something like that," and his boss said, "I saw the evidence. I saw you assaulting the girl in the street," and he asks, "What video is this? Show me." Then the boss says, "You won't see anything, you'll see it at the police station, because I'm going there to deliver this video, and that's if the girl hasn't already gone to complain about you, right?" And Iago replied, "Boss, I didn't do anything. I have the right to defend myself, and the boss tells me I want you to go to HR, you will receive all your rights, but you don't step foot in this company anymore." And he replied, "I've never been so humiliated in my life, and you can keep your company. I will withdraw." Kyrie praises her boss's attitude in sending Iago away and congratulates them. Mel says he never imagined he would be capable of something like that. "If I hadn't seen it I wouldn't have believed it, but let that story go and let's get to work." And Kyrie says, "Okay, boss." Kyrie celebrates having made Mel fire Iago. Louise's cell phone rings and she wonders who it is. When answering, does she say hello? He then said, "Is Iago, are you alright?" She says, "Good, it's you. I'm fine, and you?" He replied, "So I wanted to ask you out, but today I'm not very well, and she asks, did something happen? He said take it easy, it's not about you, it's about my work, and she said don't be like that, no, let's go out and distract him to improve his mood, and he asks, where are you? She replied I'm home, where are we meeting? And he said, so you know on that corner we met that day? There's a little bar there, can you go there? She agrees, and says she'll meet him in 10 minutes, the two agree, and say goodbye. Louise takes. He's running off the couch, and says I have a date, I need to get ready. Upon arriving at the little bar, Louise asks why he was sad, and he replied, it's a personal thing of mine, and I was accused of something I would never do, and she asks me to tell you, you know we're friends, and you know you can trust me, and he asks only friends? She replied, I don't know, maybe we can't evolve into something more, and he says, so I'll tell you what happened, and she replied, I don't believe I didn't give you the opportunity to defend yourself. He says my CV is very good, but it's going to be hard to look for another one now, and I can't even ask for a referral, because they're accusing me of theft, and this is a very serious thing, and she says my father owns some companies, and if you want I can tell him to put you in any. What do you think? Did he answer seriously? But I can't accept it, and I don't want to bother you with it either, and Louise says you won't bother me ever, and who knows, we can be more than two friends today. My father will be at home, you don't want to stop by, so we can talk better? He asks, are you sure I won't bother? She says no way, let's just eat that cake. Upon arriving home, Louise says hi Dad, I'm glad you're here. I need to talk to you. The father says yes, my daughter, you can speak, and she says that she had met Iago, and that he had saved her life, and he asks what do you mean, daughter? Did something happen to you? Louise replied, I had an asthma attack on the street and I couldn't take the inhaler, and he helped me, and the father asks, where is this boy? Tell me, how was that? Louise then says that she met with Iago, but that he was sent away, and for something he didn't do, and the father asks, how are you sure he didn't do anything? You were there? Louise replied, of course, I'm sure. Do you think if he was a bad person he would have helped me? The father then said that he doesn't know his nature, that he could have helped her, but he could have done something wrong, and then she said I trust him, and do you trust me? The father replied, of course my daughter, and so let's give him a chance. Soon the father agrees, and says he wants to meet the boy first, and Louise tells him he must be arriving. Look there, he has arrived. Louise opens the door and greets Iago. Iago enters, and soon the father gets up and asks, are you the boy who saved my daughter's life? Iago replied, I don't think it went well to save his life, but I'm glad my name is Iago, and his father says I'm glad. My name is Gringo, and he tells me that Louise had told me what had happened at the company, but tell me better what happened, and Iago says it happened that my manager accused me of stealing, and that's not my nature. I'm not one to do that, and she didn't even give me the chance to defend myself, and the father then said I liked you. Yesterday one was sent away guy from my company. And I believe you fit the bill, and if you want, let's get started, and Iago can't believe he did this for him, and Louise says your dad has a big heart, and Dad says how you already know the way from my house, you come here tomorrow morning, I'll take you there to introduce you to the company, but look, you can't be late. Louise then tells her that a new movie has come out at the cinema, and invites Iago to go with her, and he says I have to ask your father for permission, would you allow it? The father said he could, but he had to be careful with his baby, because he wasn't going to fire him before hiring him. Louise praises her father and pulls Iago, and says come on. Upon arriving at the company, the Gringo says come Iago, accompany me, and Iago says Sir Gringo, I needed to talk to you, and the Gringo said come let's go here first, let me introduce you to the manager. The Gringo enters Mel's room and says, good morning, Dona Mel, this is Iago. Mel soon asks Gringo? Iago? What are you doing here? The Gringo then asks, do you know Iago? Mel then says I know, he was the guy I fired, because he was robbing the woman on the street. The Gringo then asks Iago for an explanation, and Mel replied he doesn't need to explain anything to you. I'll call Kairi, and she shows you the photos, and he asks Iago, you explain this story to me properly, and Iago says I don't know exactly what's going on happening. Kairi enters the room and asks Iago, what are you doing here? Mel then asks for the footage that Kairi had and shows everything to the gringo, and he says, what video is this? What footage is this? Kairi claims that Iago was assaulting the girl, and the gringo replied, this is my daughter, and you know her, and are you sure you didn't record this video on purpose? Soon, Honey asks Kairi for an explanation, and she apologizes to Iago, and the gringo says that Kairi does not leave the house and knows that his daughter has an asthma problem and that he is sure that she did it out of malice. Mel then apologizes to Iago and tells him that he will rehire him. Let's go them back to work. The gringo then tells Kairi you're fired, and she begs him not to do this to her, and she yells that Iago will pay for this, and he turns to Mel and asks for more attention on his job, and she promises not to talk anymore. Louise finds Iago and says, hi, and how was it there? He replied, do you believe that everything has cleared up? And she asks, tell me what happened. And he says that on the day she felt sick, Kairi had filmed everything and got it all wrong, but her father saw that they were wrong and everything worked out in the end. And Louise says, I'm very happy for you, and he asks, do you want to date with me? She says, yes, let's go.